A very good evening to all of you. My name is Sheetal Bansode. I am the chapter coordinator for National HRD Network Pune. I feel privileged to be the moderator for today's webinar, and it gives me an immense pleasure to welcome you all to the NHRDN webinar on the topic Saving Lives via Organ Donation in association with IGiftLife. This webinar is divided into two parts: learning session for 45 minutes and Q&A session for next 15 minutes. We would like to hear from you and include your questions in the conversation. Using the question panel on the right side of the GoToWebinar player, you can ask your questions or share your thoughts at any time during the webinar. I would like to request the chapter president of Pune, Mr. Aman Rajabali, to welcome our guests and take the session forward. Over to you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Sheetal. Good evening, all the panelists, and good evening, all the participants. Thank you very much, and namaste one more time for the various webinars which we have been doing. But this one is ultra special, and I think in next 1 hour you will experience that. I have 4 key panelists on panel, and then in the backstage we have Suchita and Sheetal, who is trying to make things work for all of us. So thank you both of you to start with, and thank you panelists for being with us today. I have the difficult task of introducing all our 4 panelists. I'm going to try my level best, but beforehand, I want to ask forgiveness from all of you in case if I make any error in introducing you in any incorrect way. Please forgive me for that. And I think it's very difficult to introduce Aman, so I'm going to keep that towards the last. And I will be starting with our youngest panelist today, who is Naina Batra. And Naina is the co-founder of IGiftLife along with Tejpal. She is MBA from SIMS, and thankfully, Naina, we were not there in the selection process when you were going through SIMS, so we have not seen you there. But coming from the very prestigious institute here in Pune, and Naina works out of Bangalore with a very reputed IT firm. But thanks to lockdown, that she is in Pune, and we managed to get her as our panelist today for this session. Our next important panelist is Anjum Rajabali. I think before I tell anything more about him, it's important to call out that Anjum is Aman's brother, and I think that should be the biggest introduction for the NHRD fraternity, Anjum. And I'm intentionally saying this so that in case if Aman has not shared with you about his own reputation in NHRD, then this is the formal way to let you know that he's a big man when it comes to NHRD community. Yes, Aman, I don't get much chance to embarrass you, so I think this is my opportunity today. Anjum is the very successful screenwriter. Amongst many films which he has written, the renowned ones, which is Rajniti, Legend of Bhagat Singh, and Gulam. Many of you may have already watched those. I'm not a great film buff, so this will have to be added into my to-do list when it comes to watching films. He has mentored a lot of screenplay writers in international, labs. He also counsels the screenplay writers, and recently he has provided his consultancy to a couple of films like Mulk and Article 15. And I think Article 15 was launched just few months back. In 2004, he designed the course in screenplay writing, which was introduced at FTII in 2006. He also is instrumental in starting a department of screenwriting in Whistling Woods in Mumbai. He did acting in few movies as well. So, multi-dimensional personality to say the least, Anjum. And thank you for being with us today. Anjum has also done his post-graduation in clinical psychology, so you can understand, where his screenplay and the choice of movies coming from. And very recently, in 2019, he received, the award as the best international teacher in Select. This is the premier global association of film schools of, I think, about 170 plus film schools come together in determining who is the best teacher when it comes to the award. So Anjum, thank you once again for being with us and sparing your time this evening with NHRD folks. My next panelist is none other, and the moderator of today's session is Tejpal Singh Batra. Tejpal has been in industry for over 30 years. He worked as an IT professional. He also has flair in HR. He worked with companies like Thermax Tech Mahindra and AP Muller Merckx, the logistic organization. Uh, Importantly enough, he's the co-founder of IGiftLife along with Naina. Tejpal is passionate about teaching as well as learning. He's visiting faculty at Flame, at Symbiosis, at Balaji Institute and Balaji University, and he's currently pursuing his PhD as well. So Tejpal, thank you very much for being with us. Aman, it's very difficult to introduce you. I am going to simply say that a very dear friend. I'm fortunate to know you over last 4 years now, and the more we interact and know each other, we only feel proud and fortunate to be knowing you and being with you as a friend. You have been contributing to NHRD for over a decade now, since the time I think Pune chapter has started, and you've been in industry after your management graduation, for over 25, 30 years now. You own Kabir profiles, which gets neglected in front of NHRD work, as we can pull you in. And we also see the spark in your eyes when you go to Ferguson College, being the alumni of Ferguson College. So all four of you, thank you very much. We really look forward to this session as we go along. And participants, feel free to ask questions. These are our own folks, and you don't want to miss out the opportunity of interacting with them through this webinar. With that, I will hand it over to Tejpal, but I missed, introducing Arnaz. So Arnaz, you're a volunteer at IGiftLife, and you help us on various webinars. So thank you for being here today as well. And I can tell you, you do a fabulous job on all the other webinars I have seen. So today won't be any different. With that, we can go back to Tejpal, and Tejpal, stage is yours now. Neeraj, thank you for being with us as well as the NHRD office bearer and the treasurer for NHRDN Pune. Thank you.
Pleasure to be here always.
Thanks.
Good luck. Hi guys, good evening. Hi guys, good evening. As always, if you have your daughter sitting next to you, you don't talk, you just hand it over to her. So she's the one who's gonna drive all three of us together and ask questions. So Naina, all yours.
So first of all, thank you so much, Anand, for such an exciting and lovely introduction that you gave for all of us. So without spending more time, we'd like to get into the discussion. So first, going to you, Aman sir, we have known you. We've had the opportunity to know you for a very long time, but it's only recently that we got to know that you yourself are an organ receiver. So could you please take us through your story of organ receiving?
My story. When you ask me, it takes me back to, I think about 12 years it's been that I went through and my family went through whatever happened. अभी तो देख के हम मुस्कुराते हैं, पर जब वो हुआ था तभी तो काफी हालत हो गई थी. I had a very normal life, doing successfully in my consulting firm and whatever I was doing for the community in training field, सब कुछ था. And one fine day suddenly I find myself lying on the bed in ICU, and had no clue as to what had happened, what hit me, and मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ. I was in a semi comatose state, and so ये था. Obviously, if you ask me what I went through, I don't know. It's a reflection, but at that time I was confused. I had no idea. कि ये क्या हो रहा है, क्यों हो रहा है, and obviously my family and the doctors had not told me as to what I was going through, or my body had taken a beating in to what extent, क्या हुआ था. तो ऐसा था. Is there anything else you want me to add?
Yeah, so when this happened, up until this point, did you know about organ donation? आपने कहीं सुना था इसके बारे में, या फिर ये पहली बार था when you encountered this concept?
Organ donation, I had heard about it, though I will confess that I wasn't much well read, and I did not know as to what this is all about. And since I'm talking about confession, let me also tell you that I didn't even know as to where the kidneys are located in the body. I was that ignorant. कभी कभी ख्याल ही नहीं आया, कभी मौका नहीं मिला, कभी जहन में नहीं आया कि भाई ऐसा भी होता है. We take our body for granted. Or sorry, let me talk about myself. I take my body for granted. I used to. So I had no clue. And I had heard about organ donation to the extent कि भाई आंखें दी जाती है, and heart. और अगर ज्यादा दारू पिया, दारू लीवर खराब हो गया तो लीवर देते हैं. That is all I knew about it, and I was 38 years old at that time, though I was, but nahi, knowledge nahi thi. I didn't know about it, not so much, no.
I think that's like a lot of us, right? I mean, till something doesn't go wrong, we usually don't take the effort to learn about a concept that might save our lives as well, for that matter. So आपने कहा कि आपके फैमिली के लिए भी of course बहुत ही बुरा वक्त था, and they were also in a very big dilemma given that you were so young when it happened. So what was their reaction, and how did they actually come to making the decision of going for organ donation?
I see, during that time I was undergoing a lot of medical complications, obviously, so I don't know much about what they were going through, but what I could make out that I had these four pillars, four mountains in front of me, my brothers and my nephew Alam, and of course mother the and the sister-in-laws, the other nephew nieces. They were not in the hospital. In the hospital तो सिर्फ दो लोग थे, दो भाई थे और उन दूसरे रिश्तेदार और दोस्त थे. I could make out that something is wrong. As I told you that I didn't have much clue. For about maybe I think 12 odd days, I had no clue as to what was happening to me. So I would suggest that if this question can be asked to Anjum as to what they went through, उनको क्या लगा जब ये पता चला, when the doctors must have told them कि ऐसा ऐसा हुआ है इनके साथ में. So I think he would be able to throw a better light on the family reactions.
Yeah, and I think that's where my question comes in. But we wanted to hear from your side, because then we come to Anjum sir. So sir, what was your reaction when all this was going in, and how do you react to it initially?
You're asking me? Yeah, okay. I distinctly remember. Absolutely. I mean, almost every hour at that time. We were actually, my family and I were holidaying in Kannur, and I got a call from my younger brother who's older than Aman. And very bluntly, he said this, that there's something serious happening with Aman, and both his kidneys have failed. And it was very disorienting, because both his kidneys have failed. It felt like that life was about to go, because how does it function? So I asked him to give me some more details, and he did say that it's chronic renal failure. So I went, and I was staying in a cousin's house, empty house in Kannur. So I went and read up. Fortunately, there was a medical encyclopedia, so I read up about that, and it was very shocking, because it did say that it's dialysis for life, and there also you have all kinds of complications, and so it's not a terribly normal life. But the only other option is organ donation. I didn't know who donates and how does one donate, and do we have to wait for a cadaver? I had no idea of the possibilities involved. However, we were very quick to do our research. So the trauma, Tejpal, was very severe. I mean, it really, I reeled. Walking, I remember in the forest there, and I reeled when the phone call came. I mean, it felt, I'm sorry to say this, but it felt like, it's like the end of Aman. You see, it was that painful, that scary. However, gradually, of course, we settled down. We knew that we had to take charge of it and something had to be done. And fortunately, my other two brothers were there, and they generally, us brothers, because of the, I suppose, the training from my father, tend to keep our heads in emergencies. I mean, we don't sort of get so shaken up as to lose, you know, control. And then started this whole inquiry as to what does it mean to get a kidney as a donation. And you want me to talk about that now? I can. Would you
Yes,
like me
please.
to?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So since Aman was based in Pune, eventually he was got to Pune, and all of us gathered there. I went there from Bombay, and I started asking around, which are the hospitals that one can go to, and we did try one hospital, went to there, didn't get a very good feeling, because we were also very careful about whether the hospital would follow ethical procedures, because money might be involved. They might be looking at it like a project. I mean, like a lot of private hospitals tend to do, like a commercial project. Okay, a big case has come, like lawyers sometimes do and other people do, other professionals. So we were also a little nervous that until we know enough, we didn't want to take a decision as to where to go and who will perform it. It was purely, I think, an act of very good fortune that an extremely dear friend of mine, when he heard about it, he was speaking with me on the phone, and I mentioned this to him. So he said a friend of his, who I happen to know, they're good friends, actually is a kidney donor, and he donated it to his brother. We said, that's the guy. Can you please get him to your house, because I want to come and speak with him. So all three of us brothers, that means all three who are older than Aman, quickly in the evening we rushed there and we sat for about 2 hours. I had umpteen questions about this. Very, very satisfactorily he answered that. That one conversation, Tejpal, completely changed our outlook, not just towards kidney donation, but the outlook towards our own selves and the capacities of our body. He very simply, I mean, if I can just pull out the essence of what he said nature has given us 2 kidneys, and each kidney, according to him, effectively performs has 3 times the capacity that your body needs. So actually the other kidney can also be treated upon as like a backup kidney. So if that one kidney were to be given away, your body really would not suffer. In fact, what happens, he said, is that you would become very conscious, because the doctors would warn you, etc. So you would look after yourself well, and you keep your cholesterol down, check your blood pressure. So in every which way, actually, there is a profit for a kidney donor. And he outlined that what the surgery involved, how many days they're likely to keep you, and his view was that in Pune, KEM Hospital has a very, very good renal unit. And Dr. Wadia, who now, I mean, he's one of my favorite people on earth. So he is in charge of that, and he's very good, he's very sincere, very earnest, and very, very ethical. So you should go and meet him. And then amongst the other fringe benefits that he was talking about, he said, yeah, when you donate a kidney, lots of people come to see you, particularly beautiful women. And I said, oh, that's like a solid incentive here. I must sort of keep that in mind. And I suspect, I mean, if I might be allowed to make a joke out of that, maybe that was the incentive that drove all 3 of us brothers to sort of start vying with each other, because all 3 of us became ready. I mean, Aman was the youngest and obviously the dearest, and we were most protective about him. And anyway, the issue there was that we heard out this gentleman, Ashok Rodrigues, who had donated to his brother. And we came back home, and Aman was there, and we sort of briefed him about what had happened. And he was very adamant at that time. He said, no, I am not accepting a kidney from any of you. I said, why? He said, no, I can't have one of you getting their bodies cut up and this organ being taken out, because he also wasn't fully aware of the implications of that. So he said, no, because he was scared with that thought. We had to sit him down and carefully explain that, listen to this with an open mind, and then we will discuss it. So I explained everything to him. And at the end of it, he still said that why can't we go in for, at that time, the word that he used was a professional thing. I mean, we didn't know what word to use, but yes, obviously it's a cadaverous donation. Said we could try for that, except that there's a very, very long queue, and you never know when the turn will come. And in the meanwhile, you have to be on dialysis. And why? Why do you want to do that? I mean, there is no nuksan for any of us. Believe you me, we're completely convinced about this. In that 2 hours of discussion, from a kidney donor, with a kidney donor that we had, completely changed our outlook till date. And all three of us embraced it, and then it became like almost like a lively competition amongst the three of us as to who would be most suitable to donate and who would get the privilege. So we saw it as a privilege, that it was a privilege to help somebody who we loved. And hey, it was a bonus because we were not losing anything. It was like really, it's like the human body, I felt sometime was like a tree with lots of fruits. And then if you pluck a fruit, the tree doesn't sort of suffer any loss, but you get the benefit of that. And I said, this is like that. Okay, that nature has given us something which is, we are rich in. In fact, there's a surfeit of stuff. If you look after ourselves, we don't need so much capacity. Anyway, the three of us continued to jockey for that position, and one by one, people started getting ruled out. First, my younger brother was ruled out. Then it was my elder brother and myself. And he was quite convinced that he would make it. He said, I am telling you, I know it will be me. I said, okay, we'll see. But we would joke with each other as to who's going to win. So it became like a tournament. For the prize was the opportunity to actually, well, I wouldn't say a gift a life, but certainly make Aman's life better. He would have survived with dialysis, but this would certainly give him a shot at a normal life. And I came out on top, I must say quite proudly, because I was well looked after. Also, while this whole testing was going on, my wife, who very generously got into the act after having overcome her initial anxieties. That anxiety came out of ignorance, Tejpal, nothing else. When I look around also, and we can talk about that later, it's just pure ignorance. Okay, a scary thought. My wife also overcame that ignorance, and she really looked after me to make sure. She said, if you want to give it, I think you are the fittest. So let me make sure that it is you. So she also made sure that I ate healthy. I used to smoke. I gave up smoking. I gave up drinking. I used to have a couple of drinks every day. I gave that up and generally went in for a healthy thing. And I came out on top with cholesterol and all those things being in control. And I have to tell you, and I'm not exaggerating, sorry, you're asking. I can't hear you.
I just want to interject a bit because I think this is the right point to ask you a follow-up question. What you're saying, and we have lots of people online, and they must be thinking, wow, amazing, right? Every family would be doing that in India. Let me bring up a point out here where you are one of 8 out of 1 crore in India who are actually doing it. The organ donation rate is 8 per crore. So why is it we are not seeing it in every family? What do you think? And you have done a master's in clinical psychology and all that stuff. So can we have some input? Where is it falling through?
Yeah, Tejpal, it's no, I'm not drawing so much on my academic qualification as a master in clinical psychology, but on the experience, because what happened is even post this, KEM called me several times. Not even post that, just after the surgery, when I was able to walk, they called me over to their unit and asked me to speak with a family which was being a little resistant about giving their kidney to the husband who needed it. And after that, several people, several potential donors, I was made to speak who were resistant to this. So I did get some spectrum of insight as to what are the likely anxieties and the resistance, the causes of the resistance here. One odd, very, very odd myth is that there is a belief in some religions that if you are incomplete in your body, physically, if you are incomplete, then you will not be admitted to heaven. I mean, I find this ironical, completely ironical. If a person, I can imagine, person has damaged his body because of neglect, that God has given you such a beautiful asset and you have not looked after it, and therefore you might have this anxiety that God might be displeased with you. I could at least understand that reasoning, that you drunken driving you did, or walked out on the street without sort of really caring, looking at your phone or SMS, and then you got hit, and God might be angry with you that you have neglected my treasure which I gave you. But this is something where you're actually gifting a life. You're making somebody's life better. God should be welcoming you with open arms up there. And this was a discussion I had. Unfortunately, the person at the other end, he did not have an answer, but he did begin to smile. He said, yeah, it makes sense. I said, precisely, it does. So that was one religious thing which I noticed. The other thing, of course, is pure health anxiety, that if I have one kidney left, how am I going to function? What if I become weak? What if it begins to affect my stamina and my normal functioning, etc.? So this understanding they didn't have. Even a patient like me, just not a doctor, just an organ donor, was able to give so much information to that person. Believe you me, out of the 4 that I counseled, and I really sat with them, I do know for certain, because I heard that 2 were convinced. 2 gave their thing. About these 2, I don't know. One I do know, because that person got convinced, but their relative or whoever it is, sort of, the family put pressure on them, and eventually वो गांव का था तो वो चले गए. इसका मुझे मालूम नहीं. So even with this conversation, speaking to a kidney donor, there was a 50% hit rate, which is a certainty, purely because of the understanding that it doesn't, I mean, it makes really no difference to me. I mean, I function absolutely normally, and I am a living example of the fact that it can only do you good. I began looking after myself even more. Okay, so I keep myself fit, I go for my walks, I do my yoga asanas, I have a diet which is reasonable, which is controlled, which is sensible, and there is an awareness. And once in a while,
Sorry, we can't hear you, Anjum. We lost the voice. No, you aren't audible. Can't hear you. Suchita, could you please check?
while if there is a danger of excess, my wife would remind me, take it easy. So,
No.
can you hear me? No.
Now can.
Yes, now we
Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Naina, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yeah, so I'm saying, I mean, once again, we can talk about this further later also, about what we all feel should be done, could be done, must be done to ensure that that awful statistic that you threw at me, Tejpal, completely disorienting me, that only 8 in 10 million people have donated an organ. I mean, it should be, everybody should be out there doing that. Anyway, so when you asked me what are the likely causes of resistance, well, these are the 2 main things that I thought of. Apart from one secondary one, where once they become aware that yes, kidney donation is possible and kidney failure, more importantly, can happen, then there becomes sometimes a worry that if my child or my somebody else were to actually suffer this, then I won't have one to give. So shouldn't I be saving it for that person? I can understand emotionally it making sense, but actually speaking, also the way in which I guess awareness should be spreading, the way in which legislation should be becoming more sensitive to the needs of organ recipients, I imagine that it should be more freely available. See, at some point. So we can't say that, no, I want to keep it because my son might need it, so I will not give it to my brother. That can't happen. So there also some amount of counseling and some amount of reassurance becomes essential.
Right, and I think you picked up a valid point, and I think that's what our team keeps speaking to people, right? So this question comes up saying that if my body is damaged or incomplete, so the word we hear is "Swarg mein pravesh nahi milega." The words used are like this, right? So few things which we talk, and I think we have an audience here, so we're trying to address saying that we say if by giving a part of your body won't make you eligible for heaven, then why do people take out appendix? Why do people take out tumors? वो भी तो भगवान ने दिया है, right? So how can we be selective? How can we be selective with God and say कि boss appendix निकालूंगा लेकिन that is one. Second, interestingly, what you said, sir, and I think which links very, very, very closely with us, we say only 3 entities can give life: God, mother, and anybody who gives organ to somebody to save life. So if on earth you are equated with a God and a mother, I mean, your heaven is sorted, isn't it? So I think what you said very valid, and I think we come across this most of the time. And yeah, you are right that this was there. But I need to ask you one more question, taking you back to what you said. Is that you said that you did tell Aman sir that let's not wait for the waiting list to come through because it will take time. Why do you think the waiting link is usually longer?
You gave me the answer, which made sense, that if there are such few people willing to donate organs, even relatives of people who've died in an accident, that means cadaver donations could take place. Even there, if people are so resistant, it's bound to happen, because the pace at which people might be suffering or kidney afflictions or organ afflictions may be taking place, and the rate at which people are willing to donate, I think there's a huge gap, and at this rate, it'll just begin to grow further and further, creating a huge crisis where there is food available in the granaries, there's food available in the pantry, and people are dying of hunger. It's as simple as that. I find it as much of a contradiction. I mean, this is like the FCI godowns leaking away to glory when people are dying of hunger. This is like the American American companies, etc., buying up grains and dumping it. They used to do that, dump it into the ocean, just so that they can control the market and the prices of commodities, while people are starving of hunger in Africa and other poorer nations. I mean, this is an anomaly. This is the most uncivilized statistical gap that I have come across. And what you're saying is obviously it's appalling, and it's upon people like us, people like you, me, Aman, and those who are aware. We have to go not just the extra mile, but the extra many miles to ensure that lives are saved. Lives are being lost because of this ignorance. Can we believe it? How different is this from superstition, Tejpal? When women used to be, oh, bhoot hai, bhootni hai, dayan hai, and they used to be burnt at the stake, etc., and we find that horrifying. Why is this so much different? But that when it is possible to do that, I'm saying let's at least start with cadavers. Live donation अपन बाद में बात करते हैं, पर इसकी तो बात करें कि भैया वो, I'm sorry, but वो मर चुके हैं, उनका देह बाकी है, उनकी रूह तो चली गई है. अगर ये दे सकते हो, प्रॉब्लम क्या है? Why are more people not actually signing up for that? That if my organs can be used after my death, go right ahead, and rest of my body, bury me according to religious rites. Where am I saying no? So there is also, I think we need to look at how we can invigorate such initiatives like yours more to ensure that this spreads. It should spread like wildfire. It should be one of the priorities of the Ministry of Health right now to ensure this happens, because they're just saving lives. I mean, I'm sorry I get intense about this, but I find this really unacceptable, this state of affairs.
Yeah. So, like you said, like you very rightly said that that you can donate organs when you are alive, as well as you can donate organs when a person passes away. So we talk to people about both the scenarios, and we actually have a small video showing what can be donated when a person is no longer there versus when a person is alive. So I think maybe the people who've joined in would find that a little informative to know what exactly it is that can be done when. So we'll just show that video. It's a 40-second clip.
You can see the video, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, we can. Good one.
So I think
But
yeah,
this was
this is
only for what?
yeah.
Cadaver
And
donation?
for what? This is for cadaver donation, the ones, the organs that a person can donate when they're no longer alive. When it comes to a person alive and what they can donate, there are only 3 organs that can be donated. One, like we have been speaking about kidney, that you can give 1 kidney to someone. In India, you can give it only to someone who is a relative to stop the black marketing part of it. One, the other organ is a part of the liver. Now, I know a lot of people would have heard this in biology class, but must have forgotten that liver is the only organ that regenerates itself, right? So you take a small part of the liver and it grows into a full-size liver. And the other is, of course, skin that you can donate to burn victims who've gone through acid attacks, etc. So there is a part of the skin that is taken from your inner thigh and your lower back, which is the most flexible skin. And a part of it can be used to graft on and give the person a slightly more normal attempt at life. So for a life, there are only 3 organs, but for cadaver, there are up to 8.
So if a person is declared brain dead, then 8 organs can be given. If a person dies because of heart failure, then obviously it is cornea, part of skin, which can be given, and bones which can be given. So what we are saying, potentially a human being can save up to 8 lives. But that person is declared as a brain death, and I think that's massive. If before going you can save 8 lives, then
Are there any commercials involved in cadaver donation? People
okay.
might also have this query कि मेरे बाद पैसा का अगर involvement रहा तो my family would suffer. So
Yeah, so I think it's a very good question, and we get this question multiple times, comes to us. So how it works? The moment a family, let's say, informs the hospital or the doctor that we wish to save life, their bill stops immediately. Any expenses towards doing that medical checkup or retrieving of the organs, the donor family has to pay nothing. Right, so the bill stops right there, and we have seen in many hospitals, and it's not a rule, but many hospitals actually go an extra mile to help the donor family because they have done such a wonderful deal. So no commercial at all on the donor family at all. It's nothing is involved. Nothing is involved.
after I got involved with your foundation and whatever small work that I've been trying to do on my own, talking to people, there's this query that people ask me ki, they don't know as to what the doctors will do with the body. Will it get disfigured, or how the organs will be removed? Kaisa hoga, including live as well as cadaver. उसके बारे में थोड़ा कुछ बताइए ना.
Yeah, so let me answer this. I think इसमें सबसे बड़ी गलती CID, crime patrol and all these programs की बहुत ज्यादा है, right? Because उसमें दिखाया जाता है कि बैंड बजा दिया, but apart from the lighter note, I think we need to understand there's a huge difference between postmortem and organ donation. People usually confuse both of them together. Postmortem happens when a person dies, and either the family or the police has a doubt that the person did not die but was killed. And at that point of time, if the doctors have to open up the whole body to check how did the person die, they will. And in that case, can the body get disfigured? Yes, but it's a legal requirement. Nobody can say no. Right now, that does not happen in organ donation. Anjum sir is a live example, and he will vouch for it. So I'll give you two examples. If somebody expires and the eyes, which is cornea, is given in 12 minutes with a machine, only the corneas are taken out and eyes can be closed as if they are normal. Which means if the family were not to tell anybody they have given eyes to somebody or sight to somebody, nobody would even know what has happened. So there are no external marks when it comes to cornea. Now let's take example of all the remaining parts. Usually the insertion is as big as what happens in the heart bypass surgery, 6 to 8 inches depending on the size of the heart. All the organs are respectfully taken out and the stitches are put back as if it was a heart bypass surgery, right? Properly put. The doctors usually request the family to allow them to give the last bath, put on the clothes, and then give the loved one back to the family, which basically means nobody can see any external marks. Yeah, will that be there? But then we need to realize that 1/3 of people above 45-50 either have had some heart problem, so they have some kind of thing done already. So there would be one mark, but it would save close to 7 lives. So will the body get disfigured? No.
Okay, एक और सवाल है. In fact, this email I received in the morning. Gentleman called Mr. Ray. I don't know him, but through and through somebody he wrote to me, got my email ID. He's 70 years old, and he has expressed a desire to donate. My point is, till what age can one donate, and if one has to, then what would be the procedure?
Right. So I think one part here, I think yeah. So I think it's not the age, it is the fitness of the body which matters. That is one part. So I will answer that in 2 parts if you allow me. First thing, what Anjum sir said, in India, we are struggling with people having the intention to save life, actually saving life. People saying, I'm willing to give, right? So even at age of 70, if he's thinking that he's willing to do it, by itself is a massive, massive thing, right? And I think that should be understood and respected. Let the doctors do the test. I think what we want in India to happen, and that's what our foundation is working for, is people should say, I would like to save life. Doctors will do the test, and if they find the body to be fit, and if they can say, okay, fine, so and so organ can be used, you have saved life. But if not, you still tried. And in India, people are not even trying. That's one part. Second, age has no bar. It is the fitness of the body. So I'll give you an example. The youngest person for our organ donation, cadaver, is 8 months. 8 months. Yeah, a baby which fell down, died because of brain death. Their parents were brave enough to give away all the organs. 8 months. And the oldest one is 85 years. I don't think anybody, I need to explain further. 8 months, 85 years. So I don't think we need to explain anything further. Right? So I think age is just a number. It is the fitness of the body, which really matters. Right? I would just like to add one here. We need to remember in a living donation, only a major can donate. No minor can do live donation, primarily because as per the law, a minor is not equipped enough to take a decision like this. So in case of a living donor, has to be above 18 years, no matter what. But in case of cadaver donor, if the family says yes, age has no limitation. And that's the point I want to bring again. In India, the family has to say yes. So you might have all the intentions to save life, but if your family says no, after that person dies, it will not happen. And that's why the need for all of us to know about, what we are thinking and what we want to do.
No, true.
Yeah, so
एक ऐसे जी sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Just taking this point forward, I would like to ask a question to both of you, Aman and Anjum sir, to both of you that you said that your wife also, Anjum sir, you said that there was a lot of anxiety mainly because this topic is not something we discuss on the dinner table, right? It's not something we do unless it comes up. So, do the both of you think that maybe the anxiety and the whole process of the decision making would have been much easier if you had known about organ donation before?
Oh, yes. Oh, absolutely. It would have made all the difference. I mean, there would have been no these kind of doubts springing out of ignorance, and these concerns, anxieties wouldn't have been there because matter would have been clear. Absolutely. No, awareness, I think, makes all the difference. And after she became aware, because she's not the one who had accompanied me to discuss with the doctor, and before that with my friend's friend. So when I debriefed her, told her everything, it became very clear, and she was okay. So I do believe that the key, I mean, you people know better, of course, but I'm talking about my limited experience of conversation. Even after that, Naina, if there are people who come to know, students came to know, some other close friends come to know, etc. And they obviously they feel like absolutely awestruck by that. And some people, quite frankly, said, okay, you're very brave. I wouldn't have done that. And I have to tell them that you would have done it, because it is not what you think it is. And if you're really interested, I'll talk to you about my experience. And wherever possible, I have been. Tell them, even if they are not facing any situation like that, but it's a good thing. From my example, you come to know, because I felt a certain brightness, Naina, in my mind after I came to know about all this. I mean, it's like a whole new window of possibilities of saving people, making people's lives better, opened up, and I started looking around. And literally, the initial days, like a missionary, I would walk around looking at people saying, do you look like, does he look like the person who would donate? Do you think it's worth speaking with him? You become like a missionary because you feel it's such a good thing. Complete. No one's aware of it. And I'm not I'm not an ignorant person generally. Believe you me, I had no idea about this. So there's the
Just to add here, before I come to Aman sir, yesterday Aman sir rang me up and said, because we went out and sent it on Facebook and LinkedIn 2 or 3 days back, what will be the participation? And I remember telling him, me and Nana have gone to a multinational who has booked the auditorium, and there was one person. It's a fight, but then the question is, if you're able to leave an impact on that one person, and if that person goes and talk to 5 more people and somebody's life is saved, the work is done. So it's all about being persistent and keep on going at it, because people don't want to talk about it, and all you have to do is find ways of, like you were saying, go and talk to people. I think I have worked with companies where it's taken me 1 year for them to allow me to go and speak to their people. 1 year, every week follow up, you can imagine. But then if it has to be done, it has to be done.
I
Aman
agree
sir,
with
say
you.
something.
I was saying that in between Naina had asked me, and now it strikes me that I call this my second life, Aman 2.0. Which, so I was compassionate earlier, more concerned about other people, humanity, had a good amount of empathy. But I think the major change that happened in me after 2008, and when not only I personally went through whatever I did and I saw my family members, but then because I have been so involved with my health, the hospitals, the doctors, so obviously I have access to various other patients that I come across. I may speak with them or I may not, but I do observe them and what they converse in OPD. काफी भरा रहता है, माहौल होता है, बातें होती है डॉक्टर से. अभी यार 12 साल हो गए भैया, 12 साल में HR में तो I would have become the HOD, so that is the kind of experience I have in this field. So the change which has got, and it reminds me of a book by Nicholas Sparks, A Walk to Remember, which said, Without suffering, there'd be no compassion. So I think I have, when people tell me now that आप कितने compassionate हो, आप कितना humanity के बारे में सोचते हो, so I think that has triggered, and that is a major change, and I am so grateful that my personality, my outlook, my nazariya, my whatever has changed, and changed for the better, not only for myself but for a larger community. That whatever I can do, I am always there. I would want to, whether it be HR, the larger community, or the students, or even now that I am associated with the organ donation awareness, कि मेरा शरीर, मेरा मन, मेरा दिमाग जितना भी दिया है मुझे ऊपर वाले ने, मैं उसे बांटूं, बस ये मेरा मकसद है. तो ये जो जोश, जो जुनून जो आया है, वो आई थिंक हैज कम आउट from the experiences, and it may be the hard way that I've learned, but I did, and I so hope that कि हम सभी में ये उत्साह हो कि हम क्यों ना दूसरों के लिए ये कुछ करें. तो मैं जहां पे भी किसी को भी देखता हूं कि they are working towards some cause, whatever, in whatever capacity, I give my full support, whether it be an NGO, larger one, smaller one, or an individual, anything. तो ये बदलाव मुझ में आया है, and I am so grateful to my family, to my friends, to all the supporters that who have known, और सब लोग हर वक्त पे, हर मोड़ पे मुझे प्रोत्साहित करते हैं और सपोर्ट करते हैं.
Perfect. I think
amazing flow, Tejpal and Anjum and Aman. Just wanted to see if there are questions from participants as well, in case if you want to pick some of them. I know the discussion is going on so well, but there might be few people who have questions to ask. Just see if that is the case.
Naina, are you able to see the questions?
I don't think
there is none as of now.
Yeah.
I guess.
So I
No,
think
there are.
if anyone has questions,
No, hang on. I think I can see the questions. Let me read them out. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Rajesh Nathan, who the message says that I just left. I don't know, that was some time ago. Can I donate my organs if I have a normal death or an accidental death without a brain dead situation?
Yes. Again, the key part here is first thing to have the donation to save life, because we have no control on how will we leave the earth. Like we have no control how we enter the earth. Same way, we have no control on how we'll go. But like I said, you can donate when alive. One person can donate when dies from a natural death, and a person can donate when the person dies because of brain death. In each case, organ donation can be done. We need to just remember one thing, and I think you can get more information on our website www.IGiftLife.com on what can be donated when. But yes, in each instance it can be done. Only thing to remember that the family has to say yes. Without family saying yes, nothing can be done. So it cannot happen automatically. Family has to say yes for organ donation to happen.
Okay. His second question was that if the body will get disfigured, but we've already spoken about this. A gentleman, Gaurav Ambedkar, he is asking, can an organ be redonated? A patient receives an organ and after his death, it is redonated. Do you have any examples? Have you come across any such cases, or is it possible?
Okay. So hi Gaurav. Again, a very interesting question. I hope you are not a doctor, so I'll try my best to answer this. Technically, yes. Organ which is once received by a receiver and starts functioning properly, technically can be redonated. Apart from cornea, especially if it's cut into two pieces and given to two people, then that cannot be used again medically. But every other organ, yes. But as of now, there is no example where it has been done. But bhai, agar 8 out of 1 crore are giving first time, the chance of it happening second time becomes very less. But I hope and pray in the future when many more give, there would be more example, but medically it can be done.
Okay, good. Thank you. Radhika Joshi wants to know, how can we make a conversation with our family members, telling them our wish to donate our organs?
Okay, this is
It's a tricky question. So Radhika, I know it's quite difficult to bring up this topic because, like I mentioned earlier, it's not a dinner table conversation, right? I mean, no family sits together and talks about what do you want to do if I'm no longer there. And usually, if you're young, like I know if I would have spoken about this with someone else, say my grandfather, he would be likely to slap me. He would be like, why do you want to talk about a time when you're no longer there? But I think it's important to be persistent. It's very important to tell them what your intention is, where you're coming from, and why you want to talk about it, right? Because it's not like everyone's going to live forever. And it's important to talk about, especially in the world that we live in, that anything can happen at any time, that it's important to speak about what means something to you. So even though they might not listen right now or in a week, in a month, in a year, it could take 7 to 8 years also for them to understand you, but keep going at it. I mean, we do that when we want a new phone or a new car or something, right? So why not for this? Just stay behind them, talk to them about it, and hopefully they will listen to you and understand you soon enough.
right. If I may add here, Aman bhai, one more angle. I think the journey starts with us. It's all within. First thing is, you need to ask yourself a question: would you want to save somebody's life? Right? And I'll give you an example here. Right? People ask us that when we go and take session, people ask us, why don't you fill forms? And which we don't, because we know at that point of time, if we are showing you some videos and they're talking about it, we get emotional and we want to fill up a form, and then we forget about it and we think our job is done. Right? So first of all, you should convince yourself that you want to save somebody's life. If the answer is yes, then you should ask yourself a second question, which is a tricky one. That if something happens to in your family, would you be willing to donate their organs? And now, if the answer for that is no, you have no right to go and speak to your family to ask them to support you to donate your organs when you're not there, because you are not willing to do it yourself for your family. Right? So get the answer right for first two for yourself. And if the answer for the first two is yes, then go and speak to your family, because now you are convinced. If you are convinced, you will be able to talk to them. And like Anjum sir said, if you read over it, read about it and all that stuff, and you are able to answer their question, hopefully you would have got some answers in this particular talk now. And if they have some questions you can't answer, speak to us, call somebody who's into this, who will help them understand the question. Other part, Radhika, to remember, the biggest mistake we make, we go back home and say, if something happens to me tomorrow, thappad padega. We have to say, if something happens to me 30, 40 years down the line, at that point of time, I would love to save life. Would you support me? They will listen to you. It's in the words. And I think that's what we need to do. And I think that's the approach we need to take. And I think it will, and if it wouldn't work, the last one is a simple question to ask, that if my organs are failing, would you not expect somebody else to give me an organ? If the answer for that is yes, how can they say no to you to save somebody's life?
Okay.
Tejpal, I entirely agree with you that the key here actually to assuage their anxiety is to also take a reassuring approach. That means we have to empathize with people's anxieties and people's resistances. We can't treat them as adversaries, that let me now convince you. No. First thing is, let me see your point of view. Let me understand what is it that is making you anxious about this decision or about this topic, and then formulate a reassuring response to that, and then make sure that we move towards a decision. We tend to sort of get a little adversarial or even moralistic. Don't you want to save somebody's life? I mean, that the question is wrongly posed, I feel. You know, you're putting the cart before the horse. You need to understand what is it that may be bothering that person. And you know what? In this session, frankly speaking, Tejpal, if you will allow, I would like you people to ask this question of the participants, the people who are listening in, that about this, what are their doubts? So let them answer that question. I'd really love to know, I mean, what would be their anxieties if something like this happened? Would they be willing? And if they would not be willing, let us hear an honest answer, because it will give us an insight into what is it perhaps that you need to do to formulate our program, the initiative in such a way that you actually are able to anticipate those anxieties and doubts and perhaps answer them in advance.
Absolutely. So I think we can ask people to chat us, put in more if they have any doubts. Aman bhai, till that time we can answer other ones.
Gentleman Harsh Singh is wanting to know what type of medical facilities are needed for organ donation. For example, hospital facilities, etc. Are such facilities available in smaller towns in India?
Okay. So I think a pretty good question. We know that we are in a pandemic situation now, and we know what is happening around. So I think one thing with us, me and Nana, we put up our hand and we call a spade, right? So in India, as of now, in class A, B, and C cities, bulk of the facilities are available, right? So and I think it's spreading quickly. I think the key facilities involved are where you need specialist doctors to do operations who can harvest organs, and then in case of a brain death, you need a ventilator, and I think ventilators are available in most of the hospitals. I'll give you one example, I think, which will put the whole thing into perspective. I think 6 to 8 months back, Nasik, close to Pune, had a patient who was declared brain dead. Their family was willing to donate organs. They only had a ventilator, they had operation theater, but they didn't have a specialist to retrieve organs. They didn't have anything. They rang up Pune. Doctors from Pune flew down to Nasik, did the whole operation, and then second set of doctors brought the whole organs back, which was then put up into the receivers. So the key part is, yes, are we still behind in having the infrastructure? But yeah, but the will is there and things are being done to save lives.
Backed by the government, basically.
Yeah.
So they take all the efforts. So even there was a case, I think, in Srinagar, right? Like, I think almost a couple of months back, where they did not have all the facilities for the organ donation to happen. And the person who received the organ was in Indore. So of course, because of the geographical difference also, it was very difficult. But the government actually took one of its fighter jets to aid the whole process, and the heart was slowed down from Srinagar to Indore in about, I think, what, 6 to 7 minutes?
6 minutes.
6 to 7 minutes, and the whole process was completed. So
it was 3 years back, by the way.
Oh yeah, okay. This was 3 years back.
It was 3 years back, but yeah, 2 weeks back, government gave their helicopter to transport the liver only because of the lockdown. No other facility was available, so government sponsored a helicopter which flew down a liver from place A to place B to save somebody's life. So
it's backed by the government in case of lack of infrastructure.
Okay, good. Mandeep Johual wants to know, it was mentioned that only family members can donate organs to their relatives in an emergency. Does it have to be immediate family? And what is the definition of family in such situations?
Okay, right. So I think the answer for this is pretty simple. As per law, organ donation, living donation can be done within the immediate family. Immediate family, as per the Indian legal law, would mean spouse, would be siblings, parents, and all these people. In this, it can be done without any paperwork, because the simple assumption is that within immediate family, there won't be any talk about money. So within this immediate family, the amount of paperwork required is very, very less. Now, if it has to be done in extended family, it can still be done, but then the paperwork would be more. Interviews will be taken to check whether they are indeed relatives. Somebody might say, he's my 8th cousin. So they would want to check whether it's actually 8th cousin and is there any financial consideration happening or not. So the process gets more tedious. A person can donate to a stranger, but then the legal requirements are massive. I'll give you a simple example. Mr. Arun Jaitley, we all know him, right? Amazing person he was, right? He had a kidney failure, and his friend had offered to give him a kidney transplant. It took him, Mr. Jaitley, at one point of time was number 3 in India, 2 or 3 in India. It had taken him 1.5 years to get approval. So, and it has been done only to avoid black marketing, because we are into it day in, day out. We see people bringing up somebody and saying she's my wife, whom they have married a week before, only for a kidney transplant and all that stuff. So they need to do all this just to make sure that, no money involved or no black marketing or other things are going on.
Okay. Lady Supriya Kabra, and thank you, Supriya, for asking this question. What is more better, donation, body donation, or organ donation?
Amazing question. दोनों महान है. अगर दोनों कर दिए तो बहुत अच्छी बात है. But I'll explain other part. Body donation helps young doctors to do research and hopefully save life in the future by doing more successful operations. Organ donation saves life immediately and give life to multiple people to live. That is the big difference between both of them. If you ask us for our advice, you could say, I want to donate organs and then I want to donate body, so that you can save life right now and also save life by allowing doctors to do research and practice how to do successful operations.
Good. Pramod Bhandari wants to know that there is a huge demand for organ donation. Should it be made compulsory? Is there an example of other countries where it is mandatory?
Right, Pramod bhai, Namaskar. I think Anjum sir had given that particular question. If we try to address anxiety and conflict with force, every action has equal and opposite reaction, and I think it actually will go nowhere. I think what is required first is change of mindset, people's mindset, and I think it's like more like a social change which comes via awareness and all that. We need to lay a basic foundation before we can do that. Yeah, there are countries where it is mandatory, but they are 20 years ahead of us in the field of organ donation. They've spent hell of a time educating their people right from school and colleges and everything else to build up that ecosystem. So you have Ireland, where the only gift you get from the government is when a baby is born, on the 6th day or the 8th day, gets an organ donor card, and at the age of 80 gets an email asking whether he or she wants to continue as an organ donor or not. And if the answer is no, all the social help is taken away. So if you are not willing to save life, then the government is not willing to support you. But they have spent 15 years educating their population about the value of life, and I think they are just starting. We are 10 to 12 years behind, and I think I can just give an example. You can't put a organ donation information or a poster outside ICU, because of the people sensitivity and everything else. It's not even allowed. We are so back, so way behind. So lots to be done before we have to do lots of social change. It's like a social engineering. Lot of things have to be done before we can reach there.
Riddho Roy writes that if a death is caused due to a new virus, a circumstance where the effects on the body are not known, would it be a huge risk to receive a donation from such a person who was willing?
Couple of things. Just because a person is willing does not mean that the doctors will take the organs. There is a proper protocol, a procedure where all the organs are checked, and if the organs are not in 100% proper fit condition, doctors will say thank you, but no, it cannot be transplanted. So they don't even take up. So we all know Six Sigma, right? 99.999. Doctors work on 100%. They don't even try to give it a 0.001 leverage. So if there's even an element of doubt, they will not do organ donation.
Okay. Shinu Thomas John has made a comment, and I think we've covered this in our conversation. The question should not be about having a healthy lifestyle so you could be a donor, but why do people still hesitate to even sign organ donation documents to donate their organs after their death? The resistance that we were talking about. So, Shinu, I hope that you would have you would have heard the conversation and your doubts would have been cleared.
Aman bhai, something.
Adi,
Sorry. Yeah, I think this is important, and with what Anjum sir had said earlier, let me share one example for you. We went to a very big medical college, having more than 5,000 medical students. We did a session for them, and we thought it was the first time we went to a medical college, third year medical students. So we thought our session would be very short. So I took with me chocolates, and I said, okay, if you tell me how many organs can be donated when alive, I'll give you chocolates. You won't believe, after half an hour I had all the chocolates still with me. So I think that's where that day we learned a lot. One, the other part which happened was the dean of that college asked me that if I fill up a form, will people come to my home asking for my organs?
the dean, that is the level of
The dean.
awareness.
Yeah, so I think that's where the social engineering and the social part, and I think that's why people many times hesitate, because again the myths and perception ki ek baar de diya to koi ghar mein aayega ki chalo bhai abhi humko aapka aadha liver chahiye to.
Okay, no. We have questions coming in, and I think we are running short of time. Sandeep Gajendra Gadkar wants to know that if a person is suffering from probable epilepsy and is on anti-epileptic medicines for years, is he or she allowed to donate?
Okay, I will not go into specific if you don't mind. I'll give it in the answer in a different way. Even a person who is HIV infected can donate, provided the receiver is a HIV infected person. Do I need to say anything more?
Got it. Ji. I think we are done with questions. You can continue the conversation for some more minutes.
So I think in the interest of time, I think we'll just bring the whole conversation together, and we would just like to first of all thank Aman sir and Anjum sir for sharing their story with us, because I'm sure it was very insightful. I know it was for me to hear an actual story of how the donation happened, and it's lovely to see the both of you in the best of health after that. So for the others who have joined in the webinar, who might have more questions which we did not address, or want to get in touch with us for any reason at all, we have brought up our information. This has our email ID, our phone number. You can also WhatsApp us hi to get the links to our website on the number that's on your screen right now. You can connect with us on any social media platform. We are very tech savvy, so you can find us everywhere, and we'd be more than happy to answer any question at any point of time.
Yeah, and the only thing which I had to ask Anjum sir and Aman sir, is there any question you have for us?
I have one question.
Right.
As a foundation, IGiftLife, what is it that you expect from individuals and the corporates, and more so the HR people that we have who joined in, and the larger community? हम क्या कर सकते हैं आपके?
Right. So I think हमारा request यही होगा, and I think because of this pandemic now, even we are changing platform, we are going online and trying to do that. I think the biggest help we need as of now is help us, join us, help us, invite us to talk to as many people as possible. Like Anjum sir said, it's about being persistent, talking, understanding what their anxiety and fears are, and clarifying that. So if you are working in an organization, invite us there to talk to your people, online webinars and everything else. Your society people, even your family people. I mean, if there's 5 people, we are willing to come and talk to you online, no problem at all. That's the biggest help we need now, is to reach as many people as possible, right? So I think like we were talking to somebody last week and like this introduction, and he said, wow, you have spoken to 2 lakh people in last 4 years. And I said, bro, there are 1.3 billion people in India. What we have done is nothing. So lots to be done. So the biggest help we need now is being able to talk to people. So it could be you joining us, understanding, learning from us, how to do it, inviting us. And the key part is we do it all free. We don't expect anything. All we need is your help to reach out to as many people as possible.
Ismail, I'd like to add, and let me, receiver and panelist की टोपी निकाल के NHRD की टोपी पहनता हूँ. And I will make a request to all the participants that we have that at NHRDs we've signed an official MOU with IGiftLife, and we intend to and we will continue to promote this noble cause that Naina and Tejpal sir are doing this. I request all of you कि हम सब साथ में मिलके in whatever capacity, we are not asking you कि you give us an audience of 1,000 people, but even if 10 people you can bring in and we are able to talk to them, create the awareness. And as you have heard from our live examples of brother and I in terms of awareness and information, that I think I will request you that you please actively pursue and give us a chance to talk to your people.
I actually, as a closing comment of mine, I would just wholeheartedly like to express my really deep sense of gratitude to Tejpal and Naina and IGiftLife Foundation and all your colleagues and your team for the truly stellar work that you people are doing so tirelessly. And it's a matter of, I think, a tremendous breakthrough that an organization like NHRD, with all these stalwarts, has decided to sort of partner with you and help you to spread that awareness. And I think this is exactly how it should grow. Okay, and I'm sure with the formidable list of members that NHRD network has, I'm sure other breakthroughs will continue to open out. And these are precisely the kind of partnerships I think that we should be seeking out and encouraging. So truly, thank you very much, Tejpal, Naina, and all the NHRD stalwarts and leaders who are here. This is truly wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So, Aman, Tejpal, and Anjum, with your permission, can we possibly, go towards the closure of this session? Actually, it is only the beginning because true power of network comes by, way of we all collaborating and wanting to do more for the community. Tejpal, we are grateful to you for giving us this opportunity to partner with IGiftLife for you, and grateful to you and Naina. Aman and Anjum, sharing our vulnerability, I think, is the biggest strength one can have as a human being. And both of you, salute, salam, and kudos to your spirit of wanting to share that personal story in front of all of us. All the participants who are on this webinar today, we count on each one of you, to help us spread this awareness. Our target is 1.3 billion just to start with in India, but I'm sure if we take these statistics to the world, where today we are seeing 18 crore, 10 million, if you do that for the whole world, the number might be, very, very, very small. And given today's globalized world, I think, Tejpal, we will not restrict at 1.3 billion. We will consider our scope as 7 billion. 7 billion plus and growing every day, to kind of expand our horizons from the awareness perspective. So once again, thanks to all the panelists, thanks to NHRDN team like Neeraj, Suchita, Sheetal, and Avinash, who is not here today but has enabled this session in some way. And we look forward to getting more and more people onboarded on this journey to make awareness to the next level as we can. Thank you. Have a great Sunday evening and look forward to interacting.
So do we get tea and refreshments now or no?
Absolutely, yes. You can send, you get it, and you send us the picture as well.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Pleasure.
Tejpal.
Thank you.
It was a wonderful session.
Thanks, Anjum, Aman.
Yes.
Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.